Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady going down this weekend. Okay, now this is one of the better main events in a period of time. I mean, this is very strategically done. That's going to have a lot of eyeballs on it, and I guarantee you're going to hear all about the Spear event. Gilbert Burns had a little bit of time as an underdog and currently sits darn near even. But when you're darn near even a little bit the underdog, if you got to go one way or the other, I let you know the odds makers believe that Brady is going to win, even if by ever so slight a margin. And I'm wondering if you agree with that. And there's two things to this fight that, if you're a handicapper, there's two things that you want to really make sure you understand. First off, Sean Brady is as good as you've been told. Sean Brady was not fraud checked against Belal Muhammad, which is not an expression I was even familiar with. Brady said that people were telling that on Twitter, and then the media was responding like they knew what that meant. I got to tell you, I'm a very cool and hip guy. I fraud checked. Who says that? We're a bunch of dorks. I wouldn't even know what the dork meant if he said that. I've never heard the term before. But Brady, when he lost to Muhammad, I didn't have a problem with the fact that Brady wasn't the best fighter in the world, which it turned out Belal was. We didn't know that. But my problem is Brady didn't bring his tools. That was not the Sean Brady that the 15 men that came before Belal fought. 15-0 Sean Brady was going to that fight, but those 15 opponents faced somebody else. And that was not Sean with his best skills. And Sean Brady is so good at grappling. Let me tell you a personal story where I discovered Sean Brady. Okay, he's an MMA fighter, covered in tattoos, and he's small, at least compared to his opponent, Craig Jones. So I'm watching this event, and that's all I learned about Sean Brady. There was a mention of Renzo Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and there was a mention of MMA, and I want to say they even said that he was a signed fighter with the UFC, which really surprised me. I hadn't seen this guy before. And either way, he is just the next victim of Craig Jones. Like, the whole reason that Craig would accept the match is because the guy's got some level of stroke within the MMA community, right? So Craig goes out there and Sean Brady got his hand raised. There's a little more to the story. There's a little more to some of the rule set, but it doesn't matter. It was just. It was a fair adjudication. It happened, and Sean Brady won. Now, as awesome as that's going to be, you're going to go, wow, Sean Brady, wow, what a great guy. And then, Chael, you're telling me on top of that he was 15-0 at one point. You're telling me on top of that he's got the experience of being in there with the best guy in the world, and Belal Muhammad. You're telling me that most recently he got a submission victory over Kelvin Gastelum in a main event, so now he's got this kind of experience? Yes, I am. Yes. And you go ahead and tuck that away. But make sure that you understand this. Gilbert Burns is a different level of grappler. Gilbert Burns is the highest placing in all of the UFC that they've got right now. He is the highest placing ADCC competitor. And Rickson Gracie, I don't think Rickson Gracie's son is still, I haven't seen him fight in well over a year. He also was a bronze medalist. I think he is, in fact, under contract. I must tell you, I'm not counting him because I haven't seen him in over a year. Before you nerds come and fact check me. And Gilbert is simply not going to get bitched out in grappling. Chimaev found that out the hard way, which was in the middle of battle. In the middle of battle, he found out Gilbert can wrestle, for one, which is the same thing that Kamaru Usman had to find out. And you're not going to have your way with him on the ground in any position. So, all of a sudden, all the things that Sean Brady did, if I'm right, if you agree with that, if you agree that Gilbert is that good at grappling, if you agree, then you've got to make sure that you understand all 15 of those guys that Sean Brady beat, and even Kelvin Gastelum in the most recent one. Everyone that Sean has ever faced, with the exception of Belal Muhammad, who was a better wrestler and grappler, and brought a tremendous amount of frustration. So it wouldn't really matter how great Sean Brady was, or what his past record is, or what he's done, if he did it all with grappling, and that grappling tool is about to be nullified. If you look at Sean Brady, or you look at his record, or you look at recent, or you even look at, a newer guy against more veteran, all of those things, you look at rankings, I would fully understand it, and it's going to come off the page the same as DraftKings did. And DraftKings is then going to offer more numbers, which is known as a line. And I'm just letting you know, all of the skills and all those tools that you've ever seen from Sean, unless you disagree with me here, they're not going to work against Gilbert. As a matter of fact, it is a very likely scenario that we see Brady off of his back. So before you go and bet this fight, really ask yourself one question. Do you believe, and do you have reason to believe, have you seen in combat a reason to believe that Sean Brady can outbox Gilbert Burns? And if you do, you go right on with your business. If you believe that Gilbert Burns' time has come and that sun has set, it happens on everybody, but I'll remind you how close he was with Belal Muhammad on no notice in a weight class that he did not want to be at. He wanted to be spotted 5 pounds. It was his whole thing, and he was still very competitive. Guys, this is Gilbert Burns. This is Gilbert Burns. I got to remind you of that. It's as though you think he's somebody else. I don't think you've thought it through. I don't think that you think that Brady can beat Gilbert Burns. I don't think that you think that Brady is going to beat Gilbert Burns. I don't think you've thought about it. I think you got influenced by somebody else, or you got influenced by the numbers without understanding what it is that they both do so well. If you don't agree with that, by all means, there is apparently, according to DraftKings, more of you out there than people like me. But that's Gilbert Burns. And I don't think that Gilbert goes into a title shot from here. I don't think you could justify that, right? I'm not talking about illness and injury. I'm talking about straight line. I don't think that he's going to get the credit that he will deserve if he becomes the second man ever to be able to beat Sean Brady. However, I do believe that Gilbert would deserve to be put into a backup position. Let Belal and Kamara have their little fight. Let Belal and Rakhmonov have their little fight. Someone needs to be the backup. I really believe with a win and your guys' help that person becomes Gilbert Burns.